everybody? Welcome back to my YouTube channel, #MovieBay. I am MovieBay, and in this video, I'm going to be doing a review over Amazon Prime's latest release, 2022 Master. Now, before I get into that, though, if you're new to my YouTube channel, hello. Welcome. Here on MovieBay, I do reviews, reactions, and commentary to movies and television. And if that's the type of content you find yourself looking for on YouTube, feel free to hit that subscribe button. And then later on, if you feel like she doing her damn thing, this is a good review, hit that thumbs up button as well. Now, let's get into this review. In this review, I'm going to have a spoiler-free and then a spoiler section because I feel like I gotta dive into it, y'all. I really do. Now, Master is a 2022 release on Amazon Prime. It's about 3 women who strive to find their place at a prestigious New England university that may disguise something sinister. Now, this movie is written and directed by Marima Diallo, starring Regina Hall, Zoe Renee, and Amber Gray. Now, if you're new to my channel, hey, I write movies. Short films, series, feature films, I write it all. Are they produced? No, but that's okay. I'm an artist, right? And I like to dive into the people who are responsible for creating said masterpieces that I do watch. Now, I've had high expectations for this movie upon reading the information because the theme is kind of based off the information, similar to a movie that I am in the process of writing now. So I was like, oh my gosh, let me check this out. I look at the trailer, and the trailer 100% creeped me out. I mean, like, y'all, I was covering my eyes. I couldn't look at the entire thing because I was scared. So I had high expectations, to say the least, coming into this film. Boy, should I not have set my expectations so high? Now, the beginning of this film is very good. We're introduced to 2 out of the quote-unquote 3 women that this story is supposed to follow simultaneously. We meet Jasmine Moore, who is a freshman at the fictional PWI Ancaster, as well as Gail Bishop, who's played by Regina Hall, who is the first Black master at the same school. Now, I like how we both meet them at the same time. They're moving in and starting their new journeys, right? So it's said that Ancaster has a haunted history of Margaret Miller, who is a witch, a lady who was murdered during the Salem witch trials. Now, legend has it she takes the soul of one freshman every year. Now, this is the storyline that was first introduced to us. This isn't the story that we thought was going to happen in the trailer. It's not the story I thought I was going to be exposed to in the trailer. Now, as the movie continued, it became more of a social commentary of the racism that happens at PWIs. That's the movie I thought I was going to be watching. But they tried to intertwine this witch storyline with the racism, and then with this surprise Rachel Dolezal storyline. It was a lot going on, and none of it was ever complete. I feel like the writer, I felt like she had so many ideas and wanted to put them all into the same world, when in reality, baby, that's at least 2 different stories, and nothing tied into each other. It just didn't tie into each other. Now, one thing I did like about the movie was it was shot artistically. Like, they had some, because she also directed it, Miss Marima Diallo, had some beautiful shots. They just were, they just had nothing to do with what the hell was going on in the story at the time. Like they had like some inserted scenes. Now, one of them worked. Other ones were kind of like, what the hell? Like, what does that have to do with what's going on right now? There were some scenes that could have been cut out of this movie entirely that would have saved time to actually develop the main storyline that you wanted to go with. Depending on which storyline you wanted to go with, because there were 2. Like, just 2 main storylines. Like, you need an A, a B, and maybe a C. She had 2 A's, and it was just they just weren't existing in the same world to me. It was shot beautifully, but some of those shots made no sense. And then a lot of scenes could have been taken out so we could have had more character development. We could have had more ways to tie into Regina's house. I said Regina. Well, Gail Bishop's house being haunted. Jasmine, is she literally being harassed by students, or is it a ghost? Or is it the witch? Like, I don't know. Like, pick a storyline and then make that shit work. The writer, Miss Marima, she has produced a lot of, well, she's written and produced a lot of short films. And I feel like you can tell, because in short films, it's a short amount of time. So you kind of leave your storyline up for inferencing. Like, you don't have time to dive into what's going on. It's more so you say it, and then everybody else, the audience, has to fill in the logical clues. But now you have 2 hours max. Yeah, some people use more than that. An hour and a half to tell your story. Like, you have time now to develop these characters. You have time now to develop these stories and tie story A and B and C together. But she did not use that time as it should have been used. If I was to rate this movie out of 5 stars, I would personally give it maybe 1.5, 2 if I'm being nice. Just off the simple fact that it had potential, it just ultimately went nowhere. So now I'm going to get into the spoiler side of this review. I'm going to dive a little bit into what made sense to me and some more things that I actually liked, and maybe how she could have made the movie make sense. Now let's start with the wild card. Let's start with Professor Liz. Now, Professor Liz was Jasmine's like English professor, I suppose, and she ends up having a Rachel Dolezal storyline. She's one of the only other black professors at the university, and then Gail Bishop finds out that Rachel is indeed purely white, like strictly white. But then Liz like rebuttals and say, I'm really biracial, but my mother won't accept the fact that I'm half black. So it's like, you give us this storyline that was actually interesting just to debunk it at the end. Like, is she really biracial? So if she is, what's the point of mentioning that? Is she really not? Like, it was never solved, and she kind of walks off with the hood on her head and leaves. So I'm like, oh, she puts the hood on her head, so maybe she is white. Maybe she is one of those Salem witch trial people who've been walking around the campus, but they never confirmed. And why were those people there anyways? Fucking pointless in the movie. Now let's go ahead and get on to Jasmine. Oh, wait, hold on. Before we get to Jasmine, can we talk about her playing the City Girls, Liz playing the City Girls at the board meeting with all those white people? Talk about a real ass bitch give a fuck about a nigga. I was like, huh? She said white people don't know about music, so you put on the City Girls? Like, no. I feel like that was what? I was like, okay, so she is white. She got to be white. But then she came up with her logical explanation. So I was like, I don't know. What was the purpose of you giving us this and then not doing shit with it? Now let's talk about Jazz. So Jazz's character was a little bit more developed. We really just find out her personality. So if anything I learned was how to write personality for a character, because Jazz is not very naive, and we know she's from the suburbs. That's about it. We don't know what she majors in. We don't know her interests. We don't know if she has any friends at home. Does her family support her? Like, we have no idea about Jazz at all, except the fact that she is naive and she is just blind to the fact that white people are really treating you like you are black, ma'am. I don't know if you knew, but you are indeed black, ma'am. Her roommate had her friends sprawled out all across Jazz's bed. Disrespectful. They made her go fetch food for them and pay for it and not pay her back. Disrespectful. Everybody at the party is singing Shaq West, talk about got the hoes calling a young nigga phone. And I was like, ooh, this is exactly why. One of the major reasons I went to an HBCU. Because I could not imagine myself at a PWI. I would be in prison. I could not know. How do black people do it? Please leave it in the comments below. Explain to me, how do y'all survive at a PWI? Because I could fucking never. So we just find out and that Jazz, I feel like, is unbeknownst to her. She is black, or she wants to be white, or she wants to conform and fit in, because she went from her natural curls to, when she hung out with her roommates, now she has this straight wig on, but then at the end she goes back to her natural curls. Now, I'm a girl who switches it up as well, but I feel like in movies those type of things are intentional, and it speaks to Jazz's character of wanting to be white or wanting to fit in. She also gets disrespected by the staff. The librarian thinks she's stealing books. Okay, the black lunch lady had an Uncle Ruckus moment and didn't want to speak to Jazz. So it's like, damn, even the black people treat me like I'm black. What the fuck? Like, it was so, that part was funny. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, all of that was mentioned in the exposition. That was the best part of the movie. Aside from, Jazz was just like having these dream sequences that weren't dreams, but they were, so they're real. So, like, I don't know. Like, it was a very thin line between what was really happening to Jasmine and what was a dream. So that was an error, because it was very confusing and just irrelevant a majority of the time, because we don't know if she's really being harassed by the student body, or if it is indeed this witch, or is it other white souls who have passed on at this PWI. Like, we have no idea. I do like the fact, though, we are in the spoiler section, so I do like the fact that Jazz dies at the end. She decides to terminate self, okay? And I like that, because I don't like happy endings. I honestly do not. But it was never really explained why. She goes to the hospital because she jumps out the window, and then she just decides, I'm just going to end it all, because no matter where I go, this entity will follow me. And it's like, the witch didn't make her do it. The witch didn't, possess her to do it. She just decides, I'm just going to give up. Period. So, like, I like the ending because I don't like happy endings, but at the same time, how did she come to that conclusion so fast? And there was a lot of research scenes in this movie that had no payoff. Like, what are you looking at? Why? Who writes one sentence diary entries? Like, they just didn't make sense. So finally, let's get into the most dynamic character, but yet the still most unfulfilled storyline. Gail Bishop, played by Regina Hall. Now, like I mentioned earlier, Gail Bishop is the first black master on a white board at this PWI. Now, to my understanding, master is an England term, but I think it's like either, I don't know if it's for dean of students or is she the president of the uni. It's probably dean of students, though, because baby steps. But she moves into this on-campus housing that all the deans stay in, and it's, for lack of a better term, haunted. She has maggots that pops up everywhere. Bells keep ringing, drawing her to the attic where there are just boxes and boxes of shit, and nothing is ever fulfilled. Why are these bells ringing? I tried to do a little bit of research. The most I could come up with is on plantations that they had bells for the slaves, but is the attic where the slaves were housed, or the house slaves? Is that where they were housed? Like, I don't know. Why were these bells ringing? Why? They didn't say. Why are there maggots here? Why? Why are these papers flying everywhere? Like, why? Like, nothing was fulfilled with this house except for creepy shit. Were they trying to get her out? It was just not a payoff. It was just happening to happen. You can't just have things happen to happen. They need to be happening for a reason. I ultimately like Regina. I like the character stories, though. Like, Regina being the first black president, and, it's like you reach this pinnacle, but at the end of the day, you are still the black lady. You are still conforming to try to fit in with the white folks, because she ends up kind of like snitching on her friend, Professor Liz. So, she's still being pressured to succumb to these white people's standards, even though you have reached some level of authority yourself. And at the end, she decides it's never going to change. I'm never going to change anything. So I'm out this Pete. Like, I'm out. So it's like, so you give up? Like, I don't know. It's like I understood why she was like, bump this, I'm out. But at the same time, you just gonna quit? Like, what? Like, huh? Now, another thing I did not like is the fact that when Jazz terminated life, Professor Bishop was torn up about it. And why? Like, y'all had 2 scenes together. How are you so drawn and connected to this girl thinking that you failed her? I wish they would have showed more of Jazz and Professor Bishop building a relationship, and then maybe Professor like canceling meetings or canceling dates or things like that to go to these parties and events that she has to attend, and then that in turn leaves Jazz feeling alone, which I then could understand why Bishop would feel responsible or like she failed Jazz. But they never built that real connection. So it's like, why are you crying, packing up this girl's stuff? Like, you weren't there. You met her twice. like I saw you with the other black girl more. Like, I just don't understand. Like, a lot of the failed things in this film is simply because there were a lot of incompleteness. Storylines were incomplete. Characters' relationships were incomplete. Characters themselves were incomplete for the most part. And then a lot of scenes that were there could have been taken out. You could erase these research scenes, because y'all know in scary movies you always gotta have a research scene, but her research led to nothing. So it's just in these dream sequences. Are they real? Are they fake? They led to nothing. It was just so much potential, and it was wasted, in my personal opinion. So like I said earlier, I fully stand by my rating of 2.5. No, I did not say 2.5. I said 1.5 to 2 stars. So much potential. It was just wasted. You know, I still recommend this movie to see because obviously support black business, but no. Maybe you'll like it though. Who knows? Maybe you'll like it. I obviously look at movies differently because I'm a writer. So stories are so important to me. It's more than just about beautiful cinematography. That shit gotta make sense. So with all that being said, if y'all like this review, first off, if you lasted this long, leave #MovieBay down in the comment section. I'm about to call y'all out. Leave a thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe to my YouTube channel if you have not already, and then I'll see y'all next time. It's a date.